So what's more important, actions or knowledge? Aquinas Day 5, happy feast of Saints Joachim and Anne. I'm Max, and today we look at whether sacred doctrine is a practical science. Prima pars, question 1, article 4. So let's begin. We proceed thus to the fourth article, objection 1. It seems that sacred doctrine is a practical science, for a practical science is that which ends in action, according to the philosopher, Metaphysics 2. But sacred doctrine is ordained to action. Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only. Therefore, sacred doctrine is a practical science. Objection 2. Further, sacred doctrine is divided into the old and the new law, but law implies a moral science, which is a practical science. Therefore, sacred doctrine is a practical science. On the contrary, every practical science is concerned with human operations, as moral science is concerned with human acts and architecture with buildings, but sacred doctrine is chiefly concerned with God, whose handiwork is especially man. Therefore, it is not a practical, but a speculative science. I answer that sacred doctrine, being one, extends to those things which belong to different philosophical sciences, because it considers in each the same formal aspect, namely, so far as they can be known through divine revelation. Hence, although among the philosophical sciences one is speculative and another practical, nevertheless, sacred doctrine includes both, as God, by one and the same science, knows both himself and his works. Still, it is speculative rather than practical, because it is more concerned with divine things than with human acts, though it does treat of even these latter, inasmuch as man is ordained by them to the perfect knowledge of God, in which consists eternal bliss. This is sufficient answer to the objections. So this article contains so much I love about Aquinas. First, there's the careful, deliberate progression of questions. We might not think to have asked these questions, but really that's only because we haven't thought as much as Aquinas has. He's thought about these things a lot, and so he's asking questions that if we thought about them, we'd be asking them too. But also, one of the things I love about this article is when he throws out the line, this line, inasmuch as man is ordained by them, i.e. human actions, of which sacred doctrine treats, to perfect knowledge of God, in which consists eternal bliss. So he describes heaven, and in its kind of compactness and preciseness and succinctness, it's beautiful. But then he just finishes the article with, this is sufficient to answer the objections. Mic drop. I'm like, wait, hold on. Let's go back to what you were talking about there. Knowledge of God, eternal bliss, all of that. Like, let's look at that. So, and let's actually look at that. So we can see his answer his answer to the question I asked earlier between actions and knowledge, or the primacy of the practical and the speculative. So he answers that our acts direct us to knowledge, in which consists our end and purpose, i.e. our eternal bliss. So he's saying that acts can't be ignored, acts are necessary, but acts are ordered to knowledge. And I mean, here he's talking about God specifically, but we can look, is this true in the rest of life? And when I look, I think it is, because when I look at my wife, my relationship between me and my wife, I do lots of things. There are lots of actions I take for her good. There's lots of actions I take for the sake of the marriage. But in the end, I'm not doing these actions for their own sake. I'm really, the purpose of this is, in building the relationship, is for those moments where we get to be in each other's presence, where we get to kind of rest in each other's presence, where we get to know each other. And that seems to be what it's all ordered towards the knowing. We want to get to know each other better. So I think it is true that that the actions are ordained to knowledge, not just with God, but with everyday life too. That we're seeking after some kind of knowledge, not trivial knowledge, but real experience knowledge of others. Yeah, so I guess my question is, do you agree? Let me know below what you think between actions and knowledge. Do you agree with Aquinas? Do you disagree? Why? And I think that is sufficient discussion for today. So subscribe if you'd like to continue with me on this adventure. Like if the spirit moves you. And remember, Aquinas today keeps the heretics away. See ya.